everybody! Happy Friday, TGIF! Woo! Now, my name is Anna Sabramowicz, and if this is your first time experiencing one of these lives, then welcome, first of all. And here's where I really just talk about interactive storytelling. How do you do that? And it's my passion. It's something I want to get out to the world. So if you're enjoying this, please share it with somebody who you think will benefit. But in the meantime, before I get into my story and the things I'm going to teach you today, which really is about taking the old e-learning method and introducing you to my interactive storytelling framework and getting into the details of how that works, if you want, obviously, when I say details, it's going to be like pretty high level because we would be here all day. But if you want more details and more, if this is something that resonates with you, I encourage you to sign up at elearningsecrets.com. Check it out. Sign up for my webinar. Now, so first I want to start off with a really cool story, which is cool now, but wasn't cool when I was doing it. So, and let me know if this resonates with you. And by the way, I do read all your comments. So if you have a comment about something that resonates with you or you have an experience to share, I just absolutely love connecting with you guys, and some of the things that have been shared are letting me know that this resonates, and if this does, let me know. So years back, I worked for a company that was, we were really scenario actually focused. So one of the things that we love doing is putting the learner in the context of where they would be applying the information. And this was like a retail environment. So we designed some pretty awesome scenarios for these people who were actually selling different kinds of products. Imagine something like a Best Buy, right? Like where they get ton of products, ton of awesomeness. And also part of that awesomeness, other than job security, is the fact that those products, they change all the time. They're like, every 3 months, there's like 90 new things that these people at, like, let's say even Best Buy or like the tech center at Walmart, those guys have to know that stuff, right? Or know that it exists, period. And I have such respect for those people because I feel like they're just bombarded with info. And what happened is that we were designing, first we designed all these wicked scenarios, right? And really they were the essential components of sales is figuring out, hey, what's going on with you? Tell me what problems you're trying to solve, or tell me what's going on, and I can figure out which product best matches your need, right? Like really in the essence of sales is listening to the customer, figuring out what do you have that can actually help them if it can, and then offering that to them. But what happened is very quickly, because of that 90-day cycle of constant new products and the way that the e-learning modules were structured, I found myself taking like user manuals and like marketing materials for products and trying to turn them into learning resources. And they're not, they're like spec sheets, right? Which is like basically legal specifications of what a product, how long the battery will last, how many charges you expect it to go, what are the weights, and this stuff that really in the end is something that you could look up very easily, and it has nothing to do with real learning. Like those aren't things you should learn because they're actually going to be obsolete in about 90 days. But what I did is I fell into this cycle of taking this stuff and trying to integrate it into the information in the scenarios, which is, when I think about it now, I think that's absolutely ridiculous and a total waste of the skill set that I, as an instructional designer, bring to the table. But how many times are we asked to do that? We take a manual and we're asked to turn it into learning. It's a reference resource. It's like taking an encyclopedia and trying to turn that into learning. It just doesn't work. It just doesn't. Like in this context, it was absurd, and I did it. And then it crushed me. And that's where I really started thinking about how can I do this so that not only am I having a great time, but my learner's having a great time. It's a win-win, and I'm actually affecting change. So if you've ever been in that situation, I'd love to hear that you're a part of the manual conversion club, because baby, it's funny because in that moment you're like, yeah, of course, this is normal for me to do. And then you're like, what am I doing? Right after like a while, you're like, is this it? Was this learning? Right? And then you're putting it on, you're like, how can I make this exciting? It's a manual. You can't. Unless somebody's actually plugging the TV and then trying to work it, and even then they don't find it exciting. They just want it to work as quickly as possible. That's why now most things come up with a 5-step startup guide. So, what does this have to do with what we're doing? Why am I telling you this story? The reason I'm telling you this is because I think we've been sold a story about how learning should be, how the process should be, and what it's done is it kind of diminished our role. And I wanted to get that passion and creativity and meaning back in my life. And so this is why I'm talking about interactive storytelling today, and that's why I want to talk to you through that system. And I want to make it as clear and simple as possible so that you walk away going, heck yeah, I'm loving it. All right, so first, if you haven't been here before, I'm just going to give you a quick recap of what I think the old e-learning method is. Very quickly, but just so you're like, yep, that's right, Anna, not loving that. Let's move on to what's the new one. Okay, so the first thing is, years ago we were sold by the software company saying, hey, rapid e-learning, let's take whatever you got, PowerPoints, Word documents, and turn them into interactive, engaging e-learning. Learning, yay! And so what happened is, this is the problem. You happen to also love that stuff. I mean, I love that power that comes with the software, being able to build this stuff. Now, I have more power. I have just as much power as like Steven Spielberg, creating interactive things on screen, right? Like, awesome. So, this is the problem though. Because we had the software, one of the things that happened is now we became kind of, bypassed, because the software was doing all the work. The software was giving us all the templates, and then what happened is we ended up with all these templates with text and images and clickety-click things, and then what happened is that what we did is we took this PowerPoint and glorified it into a more interactive, self-paced PowerPoint that didn't need a presenter and also didn't really need our input. It just needed us to, use the software more. And I wanted to get away from that because that's what I felt I was doing. I was also like a glorified wordsmith, really. That's what I turned into. And here you basically become a glorified pixel pusher. So how can we get away from this? Well, friends, it's called the interactive storytelling method. Let me tell you about it. Are you excited? I hope you're excited because this is going to be fun. I love the fact that I'm leaving you on a Friday to just percolate on this on the weekend. Fun, right? By the way, for my Canadian friends, I hope you're making plans for Thanksgiving, whether it is Thanksgiving at your house and you're making something, or you go to restaurants. Some of the restaurants, by the way, make some of the best Thanksgiving stuff ever. So it's actually sometimes better to just go out because they have the best restaurants. Whole Foods. All right, so the new interactive storytelling method. Woo! All right. Okay. If you want to say nouveau, go for it. It's nouveau. It's French for new. All right. So there are, in essence, 4 steps to the interactive storytelling method. Step 1. Let me just. Which is, story structure. Why story structure? Why is this the first thing you walk in with into any project now that requires change, that requires people to get engaged, that requires people to have ahas? Why stories? Because stories are like the secret sauce that engages people. This is like the engagement hack. This is the 10x of any engagement that you have. You include story, our brains are wired for story, boom, baby, you've got something. Now, it's not just any story or anything that you think is a story has a actually pretty simple structure. It's like there's a beginning, a middle, and an end. And essential components of a story, what are they? There's got to be a character, right? They've got to want something. What do they want? And there's got to be something in their way, a conflict, some sort of a challenge, something that's in their way of achieving their ultimate dream. That's every story in essence, right? Simple. Now, number 2, what do you need? You need I gotta get this. Oh, yeah, this is so fun. Love this one. Choice consequence system. And you're like, what is this, Anna? Guess what? It's actually kind of like the name, which is so cool, right? Choice consequence system. Really, what is life? What's life? Life is decisions, right? Choices and consequences. But you need a framework to organize those things. And that's really what this is. So you not only need a story structure, right? You need that kind of framework, but then you need to pack it into a system. Basically a choose your own adventure kind of system. Life is choices. You choosing to watch this video, by the way, is a choice, right? Next thing you're going to do is a decision. It's a decision. So these 2 things, super engaging, super interesting to people, but also you need to have them as a preset almost, that you're walking in with this idea that these 2 elements are necessary for you, and these decisions that you're making along this line are there before you walk into any kind of learning design situation, which is your interactive storytelling. Now, you've got the story structure, you know what it is. Then you've got this choice consequence system, which is basically your framework where you're putting in your decisions and you're structuring them in a sequence, which is very closely related to a story, because what are stories? Basically a bunch of decisions laid out in a sequence, right? So you have a story, you have your framework. Now what do you need? Now you need to talk to humans. This is the best. So the next part is you need to get the raw material. Raw. You need to get the raw material. You're talking to practitioners in the field. You're talking to people who are living the dream, people who are where you want your hero to go from your story. What are they doing? What are the decisions that they're making? Now, this step is, you're super premeditated. There's a system around this, right? It's you being super intentional because you're trying to tell a good story and you're trying to capture the key choices and consequences. So this isn't haphazard. You're talking to people in the field and pulling that in. So this is a very structured system. So boom, boom, boom. Now what do? You got all this raw material. Then you take all that awesomeness and magic and context and decisions, and you create your script, your interactive script, right? Okay. Now, interactive. I can't talk and do the interactive script. 4 steps, right? The last step, interactive script, really is like, imagine you're Steven Spielberg. I hope he's getting tagged in this, of e-learning. And you're basically taking what you've captured, which is a sequence of decisions and events structured in a way that has a beginning, middle, and an end, has a character that wants to get someplace. These are the decisions that you've organized that will help them get there. And this is, in essence, a screenplay. It's kind of the same thing. So basically, what happens here, which is really cool, is that none of this really has anything to do with software, right? Because software will change. But this stuff, stories thousands of years old, talking to people to extract info, also timeless skill. Writing. We've been doing that for a while, right? So this is what is cool, because this process is independent of the fickle nature of whatever's happening out there with Flash or HTML or VR. None of that. This is a skill set now. And you can take this and you can port it into anywhere. And then you take this, this interactive script, really, and now you can see which software or method can best tell your story. right? Now I can look out there because I know exactly what I need instead of the other way around, which is a lot of us start here. It's like, here's what I got. What can I make with this? And then you try and make this fit in. And it doesn't work the same way. Sometimes it works. Sometimes you get lucky. And then as far as a repeatable model, as far as a skill set that you can bring into any situation, it does not pan out because this is fickle. This changes, right? So, and also this is, this is the icing, but this is the cake with the layers and the awesomeness. So there's another, can you tell? Like, are you getting this? I'm excited. Are you excited? This is cool. So what's also fantabulous about this, and that is actually a real word, is that what's wonderful about this is that you are no longer, you know how I said in the other one where you're kind of like the minion where, it kind of skips you. You're no longer there's no creativity. There's no, there's really not much you're contributing to that process other than maybe choosing some fonts and choosing some templates. But now, baby, you are in charge. Yeah. You are coming in with these ideas, with tools, with frameworks, and now you're saying, hey, I'm going to go out into the world and get all this stuff and actually organize it into something powerful and beautiful. And you get to put that out into the world. So, fun, awesome, satisfying, yeah. So, I wanted to leave you with that because I wanted to get more in depth about, what this really is. And also the only way I could really show you is to show you how, really the system at the very end is one way. And here I want to put you at the center of it because that's when you get the most satisfaction. And that's also where your learner gets the most value because now they're part of their own adventure. They're choosing their own way, but one that you've designed. So, I get into more details about this in my webinar, so go to elearningsecrets.com and sign up there. If you have questions about this, I'll be back, of course, very soon to go over more, so put your questions in your comments. Let me know if this resonated with you. These are my refinements, my ideas. These are the things that I share with my students and that they use and apply to create their own interactive storytelling. And it's pretty awesome when you see some of the products that people produce. Because what's wonderful is that when you have a framework, and that's what I think is just brilliant, instead of having a blank page and you have a million assets to fill them with, if you have the constraints of a framework, that kind of takes away a lot of the anxiety, which the anxiety actually induces you not to be as creative as you want. So you take away that anxiety because you know exactly the parameters you're working within. And now within that, you can actually be extremely creative. And then the things that I've been seeing that have come out of the work that I've been doing with my students, like that makes me giddy because those are the things that really push creativity because they're working within those constraints. It's no longer an overwhelm. And I love that. I think that's so cool. So with that, I will leave you. Have a fabulous weekend. If you're having turkey or Thanksgiving, I hope you have a fabulous Thanksgiving. I'm grateful to have you in my life, and I'll see you next week. All right? Take care, friends. Bye.